What is up, my guys? Welcome back to another little video. Wow. So I want to first say thank you for all the people that were watching my last video. I know it was kind of controversial here and there, and I appreciate the support and the feedback and the criticism that I had received, and I really appreciate it, so thank you. House of Puso. What's House of Puso? House of Puso is a recent animated series that I keep seeing. I first came across House of Puso from a TikTok. I thought it seemed interesting and reminded me very much of another animated series. After seeing this TikTok, I continued to scroll and thought it was just a one-time TikTok animation. But then I kept seeing more and more content of this little guy. And then that's when I figured out that it was actually a YouTube animation series. The animated series House of Puso really reminded me of the other animated series called Alfred's Playhouse. I'm gonna do a brief breakdown of what Alfred's Playhouse is and why it's a very controversial show. Alfred's Playhouse is a series of disturbing flash animations created by Emily Uchis in 2007. It follows a mentally ill cartoon dog named Alfred Alfer, who creates a fantasy world, the Playhouse, in his mind to cope with severe trauma, abuse, and abandonment. The plot of the series is divided into 3 parts that deal with Alfred's abuse, self-harm, and severe psychological issues, often depicted through graphic, disturbing imagery. Obviously, you know the main character, which is Alfred Alfer, a pit bull mixed dog who deals with multiple personalities. And then there are other characters known as the Playhouse Friends, includes figures like Dictator Pickles, Labby, and various imaginary creatures. The creator of Alfred's Playhouse is, like I've already mentioned, Emily Uchis. She's a Philadelphia-based animator known for her controversial work on the platform Newgrounds. Alfred's Playhouse is heavily focused on trauma, DID, and sexual abuse. Alfred's Playhouse is recognized for being highly traumatic and disturbing, often cited as a piece of art that reflects a survivor's feeling of living in a state of traumatized, abusive reality. The series expanded beyond the original 3 parts to include the Alfred Alfer movie, a 5-part series, and other related shorts. Now, after doing all that base information about Alfred's Playhouse, basically, now I'm going to talk about Emily Uchis and why Alfred's Playhouse is so problematic and why she is so problematic. So I'm just gonna name the things that she's done that are problematic. I'm not gonna go into deep detail. I'm just gonna list the things that she has done that is heavily problematic. She is problematic for her beliefs on Nazis, communism, white supremacy, and supports Trump. Yeah, crazy action, I know. Alfred's Playhouse I discovered when it first kind of showed up on TikTok, similar to House of Puso. It was like, I think, end of 2023, beginning 2024, if I am correct. I don't really remember, so don't sue me. I just remember watching Alfred's Playhouse on Christmas Eve because I have read so much stuff about it already, and I was like, I'm curious. At first, it disturbed me. It was definitely an interesting series, an animation that I watched that I've never seen in another animated series before, believe it or not. I was, again, very disturbed, and you can obviously see how many implications were in there, and it was upsetting. It was quite upsetting to watch and to see. A lot of people liked Alfred's Playhouse because of its representation, which makes sense. A lot of people felt that they could relate to the series and the character and found that it was really good representation to how they felt and how they handled trauma, which I do think is great to have a character you can relate to. Of course, that is great, and that there is such good representation out there, even if the creator is very problematic. Are we surprised? No. Basically, everybody is problematic nowadays, so you can't really have expectations for anyone anymore. It even started getting a fandom of its own and growing pretty big, I would say, and like would start to get a little bit more talked about than it used to before. At least in my opinion, I have never seen anything about Alfred's Playhouse like ever until like late 2023 to early 2024. Now, to kind of give an example, I'm gonna read some comments that comment on Alfred's Playhouse and these people's perspective on Alfred's Playhouse. I'm gonna be holding the laptop real quick so I can like read it more specifically. So, Alfred's behavior relates to many folks, including myself. The breakdown especially, it often describes how I feel or behave in ways I can't describe. I've been trying to access this dog as a way to grasp myself more clearly. I don't believe finding comfort in Alfred is shameful as long as you use it respectfully and overall cope healthily, I don't know, towards it. Alfred's Playhouse is a showcase of someone's spiral, using unhealthy escapism, coping skills, and falling into the wrong crowd, which I believe is something anyone can learn or simply understand, especially with the internet around. That is just one comment, which again, I agree, there are lots of people who relate to this character due to just how he responds with trauma and escape reality. Another comment says, fun fact about Alfred's Playhouse, the animations were a cry for help because Emily Euchis had been R-worded before an SA. But since in 2000s violence was still considered a joke, most people didn't notice the animations were a cry for help, so they took it and she made it into a career. Now, another thing I will touch up upon is there are also lots of people who think Alfred's Playhouse shouldn't have a fandom, and people shouldn't support it and shouldn't even feel related to the character in any way. People shouldn't be finding comfort in it or just shouldn't have a fandom and just have a really strong opinion about the fact that there are people out there that still support Alfred's Playhouse, are fans of it, and find comfort in it. And this, believe it or not, will be important for more later. So I'm gonna read this comment. This shouldn't have a fandom. It's quite unfortunate that Emily was abused and that she made this as vent, but it absolutely should not have a fandom. It's fucked up as hell, and people that claim I don't support the artist, which is rather just untrue. The show is made specifically as a trauma dumping, and it ties directly to Emily. And while a lot of it is just disturbing as hell, it also has some incredibly problematic shit, the Nazi stuff. But even after that, the people that are watching the show just for fun and making a fandom out of it, which it should not be. It is a vent show, quite clearly not something that wants a fandom. It's rather sad, to be honest. So that is basically a small, short little rundown of Alfred's Playhouse, Emily Euchis, and some people's opinions about those things. Now I'm gonna go back onto House of Puso. House of Puso is very similar to Alfred's Playhouse, to me. A lot of people can disagree, but that is my opinion. That is how I feel. I remember first seeing it, and like I already said in the beginning, it reminded me heavily of Alfred's Playhouse, the animation, disturbing imagery, and even the implications that it implies, you know. I wasn't interested in watching House of Puso because, again, I've already seen something very similar, Alfred's Playhouse, so I knew that it was probably gonna be boring and a little like, But for this video, I decided to watch all 3 episodes, which is currently how many episodes House of Puso has. And I did a little rundown. I collected some of people's comments, some theories about what the series is about, what the episodes are about, and also some translations. The first episode follows Puso, which he introduces himself to the viewer, and you can see that he's trying to cover up these eye-like holes because his friend Bayani, I hope I'm saying that right, because his friend Bayani is coming over to his house that day. His friend Bayani ended up coming over, and then Puso just covered up the eyeball holes with like a blanket and some duct tape. Puso ends up giving Bayani a house tour, and then he notices that over the blanket there is a shelf on top of the holes, but it's bleeding. He thinks that the dresser is bleeding, so he says, should I get a band-aid for your dresser or whatever. Puso ends up telling him about the holes, and Bayani says, oh, I have those too. I can help you stop all their noises, because Puso has stated that it makes loud noises at night to where he can't sleep and just disturb him. And that's when Bayani brings out a pocket knife and cuts himself and gets his blood to feed into the holes. I don't really know. And it works, I guess it kind of works. Bayani says, cover the noise with louder noise, which I guess is like his noise. So that's what the blood basically was meaning. They end up going to sleep, and Puso wakes up in the middle of the night with Bayani gone and still having the pocket knife, and he takes the pocket knife. And that's basically the end of the episode, if I'm positive. I'm gonna read some comments that I read underneath the episode. So it will include what the symbolism is, what a lot of people theorize, what that episode meant. I think Bayani hurting himself in order to shut up the holes is representing covering up trauma or bad thoughts with self-harm, or it could represent relapsing. I think that is a really good interpretation. I feel like that's basically what a lot of people do when they self-harm, is use it to kind of shut up the bad thoughts and to just as a coping mechanism. The symbolism in this is genuinely insane. The way unhealthy coping mechanisms are shown here is genuinely so profound, I am just blown away. The trick is to cover it up with something louder. It's such a powerful line that perfectly explains why some people self-harm. The representation in this is phenomenal. I feel like most of the comments have already explained what I wanted to, which is metaphor and symbolism for this. But I want to add that I think the floor bleeding represents how sometimes trauma is easy for some people to spot. Like during that scene, Puso is rambling about the flowers his mom got them, which is almost representative of a positive or nostalgic memory they're reminiscing a lot on, until Puso interrupts by pointing out how the floor is bleeding, then mentioning bleeding more once Puso tried brushing it off. It's like how some people might notice that one has been through something if they look back at a memory, so much to the point it's obvious something changed after a traumatic event, and when questioned, they may either brush aside, dodge, or even be hesitant to open up about it. That's just my thought though, just wanted to add to it. Episode 2 is a lot more interesting. So it starts with Puso saying that he can't sleep, so he decides to clean his house. He ends up cleaning his house and he's done. He doesn't want to go to sleep still, so he tries to clean his house even more. As he's cleaning the house and he sees the holes, he puts a finger in the hole and there is blood, and he draws blood on the wall. He cleans it up. He continues to poke at the eyeball, getting very aggressive with it, and then drawing blood everywhere on the walls, floor, just drenching his house with the blood of the holes. Later, he ends up literally putting his whole hand in the hole, and then tries to clean it up after he was done. Except the blood wouldn't go away, which made him go into a full breakdown and see some shit. Text flashes on the screen, which I translated, and that I will be reading it to you guys, so you guys, I guess, know the translation. And he sees a dark figure and runs away from it and is hiding. He sees a glowing figure, which he runs to it, and then it's gone. And you see the knife, the pocket knife that he has, and it cuts to someone cutting an apple, basically implying that he is self-harming. After everything is done, he, you see the little cuts on his arms, and he's fine, I think. I know there's more. He throws up blood and roaches, and then there are these random hands, and they grab him and they touch him, and text is flashing on the screen. And that is basically the conclusion of episode 2. I'm going to first translate the text and then get onto what the episode could mean, the symbolism. The first text that we see is dad, which is in English. So the next text is please don't force me to go. And then we have why did you let him do that anyway? This might be very rough translation, by the way, so bear with me if it's not 10 out of 10 accurate. The next one is uncle, and the last one is why didn't you do anything? This is very much obvious of what this might mean, obviously. Puso clearly suffered from SA from his father during childhood. Initially, Puso appears to be doing well cleaning the house, which also is a kind of idea for solving daily problems. When the cleaning is finished, he wasn't tired yet. Perhaps he knew what was keeping him awake. He just cleaned the house to distract himself. The part where he starts poking the eyes on the wall, I feel like he's poking at it probably to make it disappear, unlike the way Bayani did it, or maybe that's all in my head, and in reality he was just trying to trigger his trauma in different ways to have the feeling of solving it, distracting himself, to feel like one of his daily problems. When he starts to poke the eyes and mess with it, the feeling of being distracted could very well serve as insanity or even make him a kind of aggressor to his traumas, making him to disturb himself instead of solving it. I don't need to explain the rest because what he did with all of that is quite explicit. But one thing I found interesting during the apple break, and it's an idea that is again part of my head maybe, is that apples when fresh usually serve as a metaphor for children, and this is mainly used in topics about pedophilia, and Puso got essayed when he was young, so yeah. You know, I'm really sorry if I misinterpreted anything. Fingering the holes feels like representation for both self-harm and masturbation, especially watching him start with one finger, then two, then a whole freaking hand. And he even blushes a little. He was feeling relief and pleasure at first, but it just made him feel terrible and dirty at the end. This whole episode is the culmination of ideal hands are the devil's tools. As horrible as it sounds, I feel like it's meant to represent them actually having fantasies about their sexual abuse. So my take on episode 2 is obviously very similar to what these people's takes were. It's obviously representing SA, child sexual abuse, on the hands of either his uncle or father. He says dad, but also says uncle, so I don't really know. We know his mom's the good guy. At least it seems like it. I feel like it could be a mix of the effects of sexual abuse and trauma, trying to distract yourself from what's keeping you up at night, to also having fantasies of your sexual abuse, because that tends to happen to a lot of victims. Okay, I'm pretty sure this microphone is like dead or dying. I don't really know, so I'm just still gonna keep it in hopes that maybe it's not dead. That is what I'm thinking that episode 2 really represents. I feel like it really brings... Okay, so because the microphone is dead, I'm just going to continue without it. I don't really need it. It's just I feel like it really blocks out a lot of the noise. It's not a lot of noise, I guess. I don't really know if it makes a difference. I feel like episode 2 really just focused on Puso's trauma and how he deals with it. So episode 3 is very, very different from 1 and 2. It focuses on Bayani, which is the friend of Puso from episode 1, and it's basically him walking. It starts with him just walking in like this field, and he would step on heels, and a little gnome would show up and say certain things to him, which basically just say things like, hey, you're stepping on my heel, don't do it again, okay, I'm giving you a warning. And then Bayani keeps walking, steps on a heel again after he skips one, but he steps on a heel again. Then it's like, you don't listen, you're an idiot, why are you not listening? This is your last warning, don't step on my heel. And he steps on a heel again. And then it gets dark, it gets very like spooky and scary, gnomes watching, eyes everywhere, and he gets scared. He goes into his shell and he sees a flower, which is very similar to Puso's flowers from his mom, and but he picks it, grabs it, and is like very sweet to it, and then he just bites it and the flower bleeds. He basically just keeps walking, and then he gets bashed and brutally murdered. And these little like circle egg things with little hats grab him and bring him to Bayani's house and put him on a bed. And you can see the holes that Bayani brings up in the first episode that he has. Just chilling there. And then it goes back to Bayani. It's regular. He's walking again, and he goes to his house and he sees his corpse. He kind of ignores it and just goes up to his roof and sits down, smiling and is happy. And the corpse of Bayani comes and asks, why are you happy? Bayani says, because I love my friends. And the corpse basically just gets on his ass and starts yelling at him and beats the living shit out of him. And then it ends. I will say the translation to what the Bayani corpse was saying to Bayani, and we'll go more into depth about the episode. So he says, which is actually pretty confusing actually looking at this now, is that all you're gonna tell me? What about you? You don't even realize how stupid you are, double child, a failure in his legacy. Everything that happened was your fault. I'm just gonna read the comments that I got from this episode 3. Okay, so from the visuals alone, my guess is that this is about generational child abuse and self-hatred considering the Bayani corpse. My take on this a little more in depth. The path Bayani walks is maybe his view on the world, the life he lives, and his day-to-day life. However, he bumps in this road maybe symbolizes his mistakes and errors, which then his grandfather disciplines, abuses, etc. However, it makes me wonder if this is correct since he never actually touches them, just goes around. Once he deteriorates and becomes broken, the flower in his way. Yeah, my theory on that, it's a nice block in his path for once. Makes me remember the term, bite the hand that feeds you. Since he acts like a scared animal and eats the flower, could be from pure fear, anger, or self-sabotage. The broken Bayani being dragged by the little white ball people / things symbolize something, yet I don't know what it means. Once in the house, we see his house full of the holes, which from the last episode I want to say represents trauma. Then it flips to normal Bayani, and there are two. However, the normal Bayani's POV is back to normal with no holes in the house, and he visually sees his other self writhing in the bed. This makes me think Bayani has a personality disorder, maybe DID, or intense depersonalization / dissociation. Normal Bayani acts perfectly fine as the part of him that deals with the abuse from his grandfather is withered, his two sides. The end where the broken Bayani hits him could be symbolizing self-hatred, guilt, or even an obscure reference to self-harm. Notes: this deals with familial generation trauma. His grandfather badmouths his mother, more hinting at it, and obviously calls him a devil child, abuses him psychologically and physically, resulting in self-hate. The last comment is, I just noticed how the flower that Bayani eats and looks quite similar to the ones that Puso has at his home in a vase, which he states in the first episode that were a gift from his mother. From that point, and I don't know if it's intended that way, I feel the flower represents some act of kindness and care from Bayani's parents to him and amidst the abuse he has faced. Like it's common for most abusive parents not evil, 100% evil towards their children at the time. But since Bayani is already used to be a subject of the abuse at the hand of his caretakers, he feels the need to be aggressive and attack due to it being a habitual, response to actual abusive situations. So that's basically what episode 3 is about. It's just, again, focusing on Bayani's trauma and what he has to go through and deal with. That is all the 3 episodes for House of Puso, but I have another thing I will need to bring up for this video. Recently, I found out the creator of House of Puso is problematic. What the heck? What the freaking heck? Oh my god, are we surprised, y'all? No. So yeah, it turns out I actually figured this out like yesterday or something, and I started digging and planning this video like a few days ago. So I'll just say what they're problematic for and what their controversy is happening. Giggle tortured small animals and drew their OC as a Nazi from what I've heard.
What? Knife? Huh?
So yeah, he basically tortured small animals, killed them, and also did some Nazi shit, making his OC a Nazi or making his OC dress as a Nazi. So yeah, very similar to Emily Uchis, I might say. Not 10 out of 10 similar, but pretty close. I very much dislike the double standard that is being displayed with House of Puso and Alfred's Playhouse. I'm seeing so many people saying, I don't care, I'm still gonna support him, and other many things along those lines when it comes to the controversies with this creator. But when it comes to Alfred's Playhouse, many people shame others for being a fan of the series, supporting it and looking for comfort in it. Remember when I said that one comment that is very much against people supporting Alfred's Playhouse and, you know, having a fandom for it, being a fan of it? This is where that comes into play. So many people hate Alfred's Playhouse, hate Emily Uchis, and rightfully so, me too. I think Emily Uchis does not deserve a platform. She is weird and disgusting and fucking weird, okay? We all know that. We're aware of that already. Now, here's where the problem lies. When it came to House of Puso and the creator, nobody cared. Nobody gave a single fucking shit about what he did. And that is insane to me. And in my opinion, I see it as a double standard. House of Puso and Alfred's Playhouse are basically the same in my opinion. Similar art styles, concept, similar disturbing scenes. Even the creators have similar backgrounds, both either supporting Nazis or just giving Nazis representation. One is a white supremacist and the other one tortured and abused animals. But of course, the male gets zero backlash and no one cares. No one cares, of course. I'm not trying to make this seem like it's about sexism, but that's what it's very much giving. So call me too woke or too sensitive for thinking that this kind of behavior is giving misogynistic. The double standard between these two is so insane to me. I can understand that this boy could be getting help and trying to better himself, but that doesn't mean we should continue to support him and pretend that what he did wasn't okay. People hate and blacklisted Emily Uchis, while people are letting what Giggle did slide. People can say he's still a kid, I don't care. You should know better by that age, which is 15 to 17, if I believe that's his age range to when he was doing it to now. To not torture animals and to not represent Nazis, even if it's a joke or some kind of coping mechanism. Making a Nazi OC or making your OC wear Nazi clothing is wrong, point blank, period. The things that Nazis do and did is not something to joke about and to take lightly. And the fact that I am seeing so many people taking it lightly, like it's okay, is disgusting. Especially since when it was Emily, it was not taken lightly and was actually taken really serious. This is something that bothers me a lot. And what also bothers me is the amount of fans and supporters he has, House of Puso has. It's not a bad thing, but if you are going to give hate and backlash to people that find comfort in Alfred's Playhouse and still watch it and support it, then you have to keep the same energy when it comes to House of Puso. If you are not giving the same energy to House of Puso, then shut the fuck up. Point blank, period. Shut the fuck up. If you feel, oh, House of Puso was fine, you can still have a fandom, you can still support them, you could still find comfort in that series. It's completely fine. Even if he tortured and killed animals and has a Nazi OC, who cares? Who cares? Who cares? You can still do it, right? You can still support and love the character and love the representation that it brings. So if that's what you think, then it is okay for some people to feel that way towards Alfred's Playhouse. Because just like House of Puso, it gives the same similar representation that there is talks of SA and abuse and self-harm and trauma and how it inflicts onto you growing up in general. I still find it so weird. I keep seeing House of Puso things show up on my For You page. I'm not a big fan of House of Puso, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I don't really have a care for it, to be honest. So I keep seeing it, but I'm seeing it being so gassed up. Like, people are glazing the shit out of the creator and the show or the series, whatever it is. Why? People are cosplaying him. People are like praising him. When I mean cosplaying, I mean cosplaying Puso, the fox. That was a cat at first. It's actually a fox, believe it or not. In which, again, I find so fucking weird. We are over here cosplaying this character of a problematic creator. I can understand, and I hope he is getting help, but again, like I have already stated, that does not make what he did right, and that does not make what he did allowed for us to praise him and for us to still support him to this day, especially because nobody is doing that for Emily Uchis. Nobody's doing that. And a lot of you guys can argue, well, she's not getting help, he's getting help, and he's a kid. He's 17, 18, he's getting help. So the fuck what? This was what? I think I heard that what he did was 2 months ago or 2 years ago. I don't fucking remember. Either way, that is far too recent for you to torture animals, torture and kill animals, and for you to come out with a Nazi OC. Far too recent, far too fucking recent in my opinion. That should not be allowed at all. It shouldn't be allowed, period. But as of recently? Are we joking? Are we joking? That's crazy, that's crazy. So, I think it is so fucking weird and strange that nobody is batting an eye to what he did. Am I surprised? No, this happens all the fucking time. You have people loving Kanye West, Drake, and Chris Brown. So many people are still supporting and listening to these men, but you see a woman that is problematic to not even the extent of what they've done, and they immediately get blacklisted and completely ruined. But the men, of course, always get to savage their career and keep it well. The women have nothing at the end of what they do. Does it make it right? No. No matter what somebody does, it doesn't make it right, but you can at least be equal about it and be fair about your fucking standards. And the fact that it's a double standard is so fucking dumb to me. Again, I feel like this is some rooted misogyny thing, whether it's intended or not intended. You can just blatantly see that they are both, Emily Uchis and this giggle kid, are basically the same. Same content, same style, and similar same controversies. But one is getting treated like it doesn't matter and like it's okay, and saying that they don't care and they don't give a shit and that they're still gonna love and support him. While another one is blacklisted, hated, frowned upon, being told that you shouldn't watch or support or find comfort in her art because she's a terrible person and that she put it in her content, which I agree. She put it in her content, so it's kind of hard to separate art from the artist. What's going on here? One's a male, one's a woman. which one is getting more hate? Yeah, the woman. I feel like House of Puso isn't a bad series. It's not my type of series, but it's a lot of people's type of series. A lot of people who relate to the character and feel a certain type of way when watching this character, and I can respect that. And you know, if you find comfort in this show, go ahead and watch it and be a fan of the character or whatnot. I feel like do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. And if you feel the same way about Alfred's Playhouse, go ahead. Go ahead. Who cares? Who cares? If you find comfort in a character in a show, that's it. It most likely has nothing to do with the creator. And I am hoping that's what it is with the people that are still supporting and finding comfort in these series and in these little characters. I just think it's really weird how like obsessed people are with this show. It is a little weird in my opinion. I do find it weird and annoying because again, like I just said, it's just nobody is giving a single fucking shit about what he did at all. That is my little breakdown of House of Puso and how I feel about it and what's kind of going on a little bit. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and enjoyed the topic. Let me know if you have any opinions about it. And again, I want to thank you guys for the support on my last video. And again, thank you for all the comments and love and subscribing and liking and viewing and giving me support and love and criticism. That is very important. So, and thank you all for being so respectful when it comes to the criticism and not being disrespectful and just straight up mean. Thank you for being mature and respectful and being an adult about it. Thank you, because I will always take criticism if it is coming from a respectful place. That's it for this video. So yeah, bye.